Prominent families often forget a simple truth. I found.
And which truth is that?
Knowledge is power.
Seize him. Cut his throat. Stop. Wait. I've changed my mind. Let him go. Step back 3 paces. Turn around. Close your eyes. Power is power.
Hey, shalom, brother. Shalom. This is Brother Ahawad of GMS Toronto coming back with another one. And they're both right. They are both right. Knowledge is power, right? But with knowledge, you also have to know how to wield it. You have to know how to use it. Sometimes when you're a man of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, you have to act like you have none. In Jamaica, or maybe in the Caribbean, I don't know, but I know because I'm from so-called Jamaica. I know that they have a saying where it goes, you have to play the fool to catch wise. They say you have to play a fool for catch wise, meaning that sometimes you have to act like you're dunce. You have to act like you don't have sense. You have to act like you don't have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, so a real fool can reveal themselves to you, right? But like this lady said, right? Power is power. And that's what we are missing, brethren, right? We are missing the power that goes behind the word, right? Yes, we have the word, which the word is powerful. The scripture says that, right? Now, this is Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, and it reads, "For the word of Yahweh is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword." Okay? So, yes, the man was right. The word is very powerful, but what word or what knowledge, right? It has to be a specific knowledge. You could have the knowledge of martial arts, but if somebody has a gun, what's your knowledge going to do? You have to know when you can apply certain knowledge to certain situations. Now, this is Psalms 110, verse 3, and it reads, "Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power." So the lady was also right, because power is power, and that's the missing ingredient in everything that we are doing right now. Everything that we're doing right now, right? Everything is being built up spiritually, but what we are missing, obviously, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. That's what we're missing. We need Yahushai to come back and deliver his elect and the 1/3. Okay? But power, because we could tell people, hey, stop doing this, stop doing that. But just like a security guard, they don't care. All right? That's all we are right now. We're not looked upon to the people as real authority. People look at us like, oh, those are just some security guards. Right? But when you're in the dollar store and you see a security guard, you just walk past that guy. Even a thief, even if you were stealing, even if you're doing something bad, you just walk past that guy like that, like he's nobody. That's how our people look at us. Our people look at us like we're just spiritual security guards that can't do nothing. Right? That's why they walk past us. You'll see people walk past us, women and women holding hands, man and man holding hands, right? You'll see our people doing all matters of wickedness. You know why? Because they don't have fear. They don't fear us. So we're going to need power. That's why the scripture says, thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. But the point of this video was because our story is being written right now. A lot of people like to read the Bible, and we go back to the different righteous men that stood tall in the times of peril and in the times of these different empires that ever came to pass. When you go back to the time of Noah, when you go back to the time of Adam, right? When you go back to the time of John, When you go back to the time of Paul, when you go back to the time of Luke, James, right? When you go back to the time of all these righteous men that stood tall, guess what? Their story was being written at that time. They were literally making history in their time. So guess what we're doing in our time, brothers? And never forget that. Never forget that, hey, yes, I'm reading about all these righteous men. Some of you brothers could be those righteous men coming back into reincarnation. And your story is being written again today. Our children will read these stories in the kingdom of everything that the prophets had to go through in Babylon. Never lose faith, brothers. Never lose faith. That's a part of your power as well. That's a part of your wisdom. Right? The Most High is blessing you to let you know that, hey, you are a part of this great work, this great mission. This is a mission that we are a part of. This building that's being built up in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. And these stories are going to live on forever and ever and ever. And people are going to tell stories about Babylon and what the prophets went through. The prophets being homeless, the prophets being disrespected, people trying to kill the prophets, people trying to stab the prophets, right? All types of shit. Your family members disrespecting you. You damn near losing your mind, but always prophesying and always keeping your faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Your story is going to be written. There's going to be a book of whoever you are. There's going to be a story of Tahar, a story of Elder Apostle Tahar, a story of Elder Apostle Gabar, a story of Elder Apostle Arimlob, right? A story of Elder Apostle Rakah, a story of the bishops, and so on and so forth. Their accounts and their life and what they went through in Babylon. And it's the same thing for you brothers, man. Right? You elders on down. Your story's being written right now. What we're doing is not for naught. This is not a joke that we're a part of. We're literally making history. We are making history. This is a part of the downfall of Esau. Right? We are a part of the downfall of Esau spiritually. Now this is Romans chapter 15 verse 4, and it reads, "For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning." Were written for our learning, right? So we can look back and see what these prophets and these servants of the Lord, these ambassadors of the Lord have been through and be like, okay, well, that's the type of mission I'm going to be on. But we have to apply this new kingdom. Right? What Noah went through, Yahweh Shai never went through. What, right? Like what different men went through won't be what a different man is going to go through, because we're in different times as well. Right? We're in completely different times. So us being in modern day Babylon, when they read about us in the kingdom, when we're in power, they're going to be like, wow, how did you guys survive that? They're going to be like, what do you mean a man was a woman? What do you mean a woman was a man? They won't understand. And we're going to tell them, yeah, that was known as a tranny. That was a transgender. You know what I mean? It's going to be amazing, man. But it says whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning. You know why? Because there's certain lessons that won't ever change. Like keeping the faith. Right? Never turning your back on Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the hardships that the prophets are going to have to go through. Right? This job comes with certain hazards. This job of ours is very hazardous. A lot of things can happen to us physically and spiritually. We're going to go through physical attacks and we're going to go through spiritual attacks. But that comes with the job. Right? It says that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope. Why? Because there's certain scriptures we're going to read and it's going to give us hope. When we read what the men of the Lord went through in the kingdom, it's going to make us humble. It's going to be our humility. That's what's going to humble us. To remind us, that's going to be our reminder. Yes, the burning of Babylon right? The smoke going up. That's going to be a reminder of what happens to a wicked place and a wicked kingdom and a wicked rulership under a wicked man known as Esau, right? The so-called white man. But our stories are going to be written so we always remember what happens to a people when they turn against the Lord, when they turn against Yahweh. Okay? So our story, very important, brothers. Never forget that, meaning that you have to be careful of your behavior and how you're acting because your story's being written. Everything about us is being written. It's all being written down. All of it is being written down, and it's all going to come to an account, whether good or whether bad. It's going to be a part of your story. So remember, a story is being written about you, right? And that story is going to be told to everybody in the kingdom. The kingdom is going to read about you. That's going to be one of the number one selling books. One of the number one selling books is going, obviously, the deliverance, right? The deliverance of the elect, 144,000 and the 1/3. That's going to be amazing. But the stories of the men of the Lord is going to be spectacular. Those books are going to fly off the shelves, right? People are going to want to know. They're going to want our account of what the elect, mainly the 144,000, went through. Literally, they're going to want you to write, oh, you were from New York? Yo, tell me about that place. Oh, you were from Toronto? What happened? Like, what was it like? Now, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 2, verse 44, and it reads, So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? Verse 45, he answered and said unto me, These be they that put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal clothing. How do we prove that? Because this is in the Apocrypha. We can prove that in the Bible, which the Apocrypha is a part of the Bible. But let's go to that one in Corinthians. Now this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 52, and it reads, In a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, right? The men of the Lord that died doing the work, they're going to be raised first, right? Incorruptible. Why? Because they're going to put on the new bodies, it says, and we shall be changed, right? How are we going to be changed? We're going to take off these mortal clothing, these clothing of death, this clothing of sin, right? That's why Paul said in Romans, oh, sinful man that I am. It's this flesh. We're in our chains. We're in captivity, right? We are, brothers, even if the white man doesn't have his foot on our necks, we're still in captivity just by being in this body. We won't get true freedom until we are in our new bodies, until we're delivered out of this clothing, because what comes with the new bodies? The new covenant, right? Where we're going to be perfect. That's what we want. We don't want to keep this flesh, this old flesh. This is flesh of sin. This is flesh of death, right? This flesh is filthy. It's nasty. This is the flesh of lust. This is the flesh of greed. This is the flesh of temptation. When we take off this mortal clothing and we put on the immortal clothing, we won't have these problems again. This is verse 53, and it reads, For the corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality, right? So these bodies are corruptible, right? And we need to put on bodies that are going to be, they cannot be corrupted at all. There is no corruption to the new bodies. That's what we're going, that's a part of the prize, man. Now this is back in 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and 45, and it reads, And he answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal. See how it links, right? So that immortal clothing is the new bodies where we're going to literally be supermen, right? And have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now are they crowned and receive palms. See? This is how important these men are. These men are very important men. These are the men of the 144,000, These are very special men. Verse 46, then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? Verse 47 reads, so he answered and said unto me, it is the son of Yahweh, Yahushai, right? It's Yahushai who we're waiting for. We're patiently waiting on you, Yahushai. We can't wait for you to come back, right? To deliver us out of this hellhole, man, this degenerate place, whom they have confessed in the world. Exactly, right? So our story is being written right now because the men that are confessing the name of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, those are very special men, especially if you're of the 144,000 and you're of the 1/3. Very, very special people, okay? It says, whom they have confessed in the world, then began I greatly to commend them. You see? So these are very important people. They that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. You know what part of standing stiffly is? Not taking the MOTB. If you take the MOTB, that means you never stood stiffly. Right? That means you never stood stiffly. If you don't go out to camp or to preach and to teach during the winter, that means you don't stand stiffly. You're not standing stiffly, right? You're standing limp. You're limp. You're weak. Okay? It says, I greatly commended them. Of course, these men are going to be literally praised, right? They're going to be praised. The 144,000 are literally going to be praised. Thank you so much. Thank you. Obviously, thank you, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Of course, like, come on. That goes without saying. But these men are very important men as well. And there's going to be stories about these men, books, movies. These are special people, man. Okay? It says, 2 Ezra chapter 2, verse 48. Then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell that my people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen, right? And everything has been written down. Just like everything is being written down today. Today. Right? Because we have to write the stories about the MOTB and how they actually did it, because the scriptures doesn't say it. We're actually going to have to put details to the story. Right? The book of the fulfillment of the MOTB. That's what we'll name it. Something like that. Right? And how Esau manifested the MOTB through a financial collapse or through a pandemic or something like that. We're going to have to tell the story. That story is going to be written. And our children's children are going to be reading that all the way into the future, because we're going to be in rulership forever. And our children that are going to be born into rulership won't know anything about captivity. So when they read these stories, they're going to be like, what, Grandpa? Grandpa, you were in slavery? Under the Edomites? The people that we have in the pits? No way. No way. But how did they get you into captivity if we have powers and they don't have powers and they're just weak people? Look at them, Grandpa. How did you make them beat you and I could beat them? And I'm just a kid. I'm just a kid and I could beat them and you couldn't beat them? Why? What happened? And then we're going to read them their bedtime stories, which is going to be like a damn nightmare to them. Right? All right, we'll sit down right here. Let me read this story to you about a time when the Edomites had us in captivity. But why, Grandpa? Why did that happen? Because we turned our backs on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And when you turn your back on Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, you lose your power, because they are your power. Your power is not women. Your power is not guns. Your power is not any of these things. Your power is Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Right? So, yeah, man, I just wanted to make a quick lesson on that. I hope you brothers were, inspired. I hope it put a smile on somebody's face. Not everything is a lesson. Some of these lessons or some of these videos are for exhortation, right? So brothers can picture the kingdom and what it's going to be like, right? So with that, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders and elder apostles of GMS, and to the brothers on the four corners of the earth doing this work in truth and in sincerity. Shalom. Till next time, Kwame Asherah.